Okay, how can I establish paternity for my child? Does that mean take a paternity test on the child?
Yes, yes, that is correct in part. Also, at birth, if dad is present at the hospital, you can have him sign the birth certificate.
Does that make it binding and legal when he does that?
It makes him the legal father, yes.
Really? Mm-hmm. My goodness, I thought you'd have to take a DNA test to prove that.
Well, if at birth he's saying, yes, so I am the father.
He says yes, because he puts his John Henry on a piece of paper.
Now, if he wants to refute that, he can always take a paternity test.
But like, suppose then when he writes his name on the birth certificate, that means him or her is his child. But down the road, if they have a problem and he wants to walk away, suppose he says, well, I think I better get a DNA test. I don't think that damn child's mine.
He can do that.
He can get a DNA test, and then what will that, well, if the child is his, he'll have to pay, and if the child isn't, he stops.
Correct.
Will he get back his child support money that he's paid, say, over 2, 3, 4, 5 years or something like that?
That's not an issue that the OCSE or the Office of Child Support Enforcement
they don't get involved in that.
He would have to go after her. Probably in the equity court to try to get his money back.
You have another question. How can a parent receive their money? How will a parent receive their money? Through the court's the best.
Yes, that's the best recommendation. That way there's an accountant. There's no one saying, you know, I paid, or the other party saying they didn't pay. You need to have it set up where there's some type of accountant. So a wage withholding order or an account with the Office of Child Support Enforcement where the money is being sent there and then dispersed to the party that's taking care of the children.
I've talked with a lot of guys because they knew I was going to be doing this show today, especially I talked to them yesterday at the gym, and they said that if they were ever in this situation, they would believe that they would feel then they'd have to have a DNA test. And I don't know why, because if your child comes into the world, like you said, you sign the certificate, I'm the daddy, the child is there, and you know, you're just hurting the child, but he would want to know positively that that's his kid. And if it's not, he's not going to pay for it.
And I actually understand why fathers want to do that. It's because if they can find a way to defend themselves out of paying the child support, they will.
But that's awful.
So everyone will say, well, let me get a test because I'm not sure if I'm the father. But, you know, most times they are.
Most times they are.
Most times they are. More times than not.
Do more men pay child support than women, do you think?
Yes.
They do? That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Because
but women do pay. I have had female clients who pay child support.
You have? How do they feel about that?
They don't feel like it's not their obligation. I mean, it's the obligation of mom and dad to support the child.
Yeah. So
it's awarded based on, you know, who has custody and who has what type of custody. So if all the numbers turn out that dad has to get child support from mom, I mean, they understand.
So they'll slap a judgment and go after her just like they would a man, then, won't they?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not about the sex of the parent, it's about who's responsible.
Who makes the most money too? Doesn't that go that way?
In some ways, yes.
Because
in some ways, yes.
I have seen many women prosper very well after a divorce. And they're making more money, but they haven't been, I guess they've been keeping it back, so you don't know just how much they're making. Some people say, well, that's a lie, that's a sin. But I don't believe that. A lot of women will take a second job. So they can pay, if they're paying child support, so they can pay that child support. But how many men do you think will go out and get a second and third job?
Some, in their defense, sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do?
Sometimes they do.
Because it's like we were talking before the show, none of us asked to be born. We come into this world hoping we will be able to be taken care of.
Right.
Okay, what happens if a man or woman is ordered child support and they don't pay for it? Where do they go? Jail?
If they don't pay, then the other party has the right to bring a contempt action against them, and haul them back in court. Let the judge know. In order for the judge to find someone in contempt of a court order, the judge has to find that there was a specific intent on the part of this person to stop complying with the court order. So it's a high standard, but sometimes the judge will find that this person willfully and intentionally stopped complying with the court order. And, you know, it depends on who the judge is. They might be lenient and give you another chance to make up the hedge, if it's child support, to make up your arrearage, the amount that you have not paid. But you could face some jail time.
Okay, what about a couple that were married, like we said a while ago, and they separate and he leaves and she's given child support? Should she be given, even he be given extra money to pay those mortgage payments, the food bill, you know, and things like that? Household taking care of a child is more than just feeding them. I know that's buying clothes and stuff like that. But do you think they should get more money?
Well, some child support is not only monetary support. The judge has, or the master, if we're talking about Prince George's County or Maryland, they have in their discretion to order support for other things, such as medical insurance, dental, different things. So they can order the other party to do specific things for the child that's outside of monetary support.
Because that was one of the questions, what do I do if I feel that the court hasn't given enough child support to be taken care of the child?
Right. Support can take other forms outside of the dollar amount that's awarded.
It can, but you have to do that in court as well.
Yes.
It's safer, I would think.
It's safer.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just an agreement between the two parties. Anyone can renege.
And one can get mad and stop it all. The other one can get mad and stop it all. What happens if the other parent does not live in Maryland?
If the other parent does not live in Maryland and you are aware of their address, you can still serve them out of state. It just takes a little bit longer. Yes, because they will get 60 days to reply. So, you know, the time period will be a little bit longer. It'll take you a little bit longer to go in front of the judge or master. But
that makes it hard because that child still has to eat those 60 days or 90 days.
I know. But that's the amount of time, that's the time limit. An out-of-state party will have to respond to a plead-in from a different state. They get
what happens
60
if
days.
the other parent, okay, if he doesn't live in Maryland, do you have to get a consent to move out of Maryland, say that you're divorced and you've got the custody, mom's got the custody and dad doesn't? Does she have to get in touch with him to let him know she's leaving, and does he have to get in touch with her if he's leaving?
It depends on what the custody order says, but yes, you should
Yeah,
let the other
see your
person,
child.
you should let the other person know where you are. You shouldn't just unilaterally get up, pack up your suitcase, pack up the child's suitcase, and move to another state. You
Without
should
letting him know.
Inform the other parent and let them know where you're going to be moving to so that they will still have access to the children.
Because that's only right. Don't you feel that going through a divorce, it really hurts the child?
Oh, it absolutely does.
It ruins the child's life.
Absolutely
I'm not kidding you.
for longer than we think.
Yeah, because when I work with the children in Cheltenham and over in Waxters with the girls, these kids grown up without dad around, or maybe they grew up without mom around, and dad's out having his fun, he's drinking, and you know, you don't do that to a child.
Right.
Because we're responsible for each one of those little people.
Right. Unfortunately, some people do not consider the best interest of the child.
Yes.
They consider the best interest of themselves.
For themselves,
But,
exactly.
Yes, it does hurt
The
them.
grass isn't always greener on the other side. What does Maryland Law Support Award take into account? Have we just about covered that, I guess?
We have in some sense. The Maryland law takes into account all sources of income. So, you know, if you work at McDonald's full time, but on the weekends you're a DJ in Washington, D.C.
You got a part-time job.
Right, and you're making, you know, a decent income from that. You can't say, oh, well, it's just a part-time, oh, I just do it on the side, you know, just count my McDonald's income. No. It will take into account all sources of income. It also takes into account the number of days or the amount of time each party spends with the children, and you know, also different things if the child has a special need. But they look at different factors, and it's all sources of income. You can't pick and choose, you know, what source of income you would like them to use to calculate the child support.